I'm joined now by Ford O'Connell. He was a campaign advisor to John McCain and Sarah Palin during their failed White House bid in 2008. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, why has Sarah Palin decided to pull out?
I think that she knows that if she'd run for the presidency, her bid would have failed, and I think at the end of the day that would have damaged her long-term brand. She has a greater influence with the right as a conservative voice per se than as a politician right now. And she knows if the Republican Party is to beat President Obama, the right has to be unified to make that happen.
She has a significant constituency in the extreme right of the Republican Party. That gives her the power to be a bit of a kingmaker. I'm sure telephone calls will be made to Alaska tonight by all the candidates seeking her support.
Absolutely. She has a very big influence. She has the chance to be a kingmaker. I think that the biggest beneficiary of her potential voters being able to decide would be Herman Cain and Texas Governor Rick Perry, because they are seeking more of a conservative mantle. But she's definitely an endorsement that the candidates in the field really want.
She is relatively young. Does this sort of put her out of a presidential bid for good, or is there a likelihood that she might come back at some point?
Well, she is relatively young. She's also a tremendous political talent. I think with a little bit of seasoning, shall we say, I don't think the book is closed, and I do think she has future presidential aspirations. And one day down the road, she may well get the opportunity to be the Republican nominee. You know,
I said her constituency is significant, but it is small. I mean, will she ever be able to overcome some of the things that happened during the last presidential campaign, you know, especially when she was talking about foreign affairs, when she was asked about what she read and things like that?
Well, I think she is a little bit raw. I think it goes back to the fact that she's a tremendous political talent. I think she needs a little bit of seasoning, and I think taking part in this presidential cycle will really help her see more clearly how she needs to broaden her brand and connect with a larger swath of people, not just those on the far right in the Tea Party per se.
So where does she go to from here?
She has to help the Republican Party win the nomination. I think if she becomes a team player and she demonstrates herself to be a strong conservative voice, I think she has a very bright future ahead of her.
How does that route follow, the Republican nomination, and where does she become important?
She becomes extremely important in places like Iowa and places like Nevada, with a little bit more of a frontier personality.
The opening states.
It is. Those are the opening states, and she has a very big following in Iowa. And I think that if whoever she backs coming out of Iowa is very likely to win it. I mean, right now I think we're headed for a two-horse race, so to speak. It's most likely going to be former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney or Texas Governor Rick Perry, and I think that she could be a very big decider in that race. And whoever she decides to back very well could win the Republican nomination.
You've been a campaign advisor to her. Where do you think her sympathies lie with those two candidates that you just mentioned?
I think I think it's still an open book. I think both of them have to seek her endorsement. I think both of them have to show who can be better to take on President Obama. But right now I think that she's more closely aligned to Texas Governor Rick Perry, more because of his frontier mentality, you know, moving forward. But again, I think that, you know, if Mitt Romney were to win the nomination, she'd stump very hard in the heartland and places like Iowa for him, because I think at the end of the day she recognizes that Barack Obama needs to be defeated.
Ford O'Connell, got to leave it there. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Police in the U.S. state of California are searching for a gunman who allegedly killed 3 people during a meeting at a quarry in Cupertino.